Good morning. My name is Ken Artizone. I'm doing the part 2 video on the Fugitive reviews of my book, The Fugitive Encyclopedia, What Could Have Been. I left off talking about famous one-liners in the series. I'll continue. Episode 1, Fear in a Desert City, Monica Wells talking to Richard. I'll take that drink. It isn't fair to involve you. Episode 4, Never Wave Goodbye. Karen speaking to Richard. Was it the wrong man? We'll get my car and we're going home. Karen wanted to stay with Richard. Episode 32, World's End, Ellie talking to Richard. Well, I guess I have, but then it's worthwhile because you lost the one-armed man too. Episode 119, The Judgment, Kimball talking to Gerard after being captured. Gerard, for the first time, I feel I'm really on to something. Episode 1, Fear in a Desert City, Monica talking to Gerard. The law isn't perfect. Wherever he is now, he knows I believe him. I always will. Episode 119, The Judgment. Philip Gerard talking to Kimball. It had to happen someday. You knew that. And I'm sorry. You just ran out of time. Classic. And then the famous narrator, William Conrad, he said this on the last voice of the Richard Kimball Fugitive series. Episode 120, in the epilogue, the final scene. The narrator, August 29th, the day the running stopped. How about that? All right, I'm going to rank the Fugitive episodes from number 1 being the best to number 120 being the worst. What do you think of my ranking? Number 1, Never Wave Goodbye, part 1 and 2. Best episode of the entire series. Number 3, Escape into Black. 4, The 2130. 5, The End is But the Beginning. 6, Nightmare at North Oak. 7, Landscape with Running Figures, part 1 and 2. Number 9, Search in a Windy City. And number 10, May God Have Mercy. Those are the best episodes, episodes 1 through 10. 11 through 20. Running Scared, Ill Wind, Wings of an Angel, They're Survivors, Trial by Fire, The Endgame, Home is the Hunted, Wife Killer, Somebody to Remember, and Fear in a Desert City. 21 through 30. The Judgment, Part 1 and Part 2. The Other Side of the Mountain. The Girl from Little Egypt. The Iron Maiden. Nemesis. The Last Oasis. World's End. Fatso Brass Ring. 31 through 40. Decision in the ring. Corner of hell. See Hollywood and die. Terror at high point. Death is the door prize. APB. This'll kill you. Come watch me die. Ballad for a Ghost. Joshua's Kingdom. 41 through 50. Stranger in the Mirror. Angels Travel on Lonely Roads, Part 1, Part 2. Cry Uncle. Glass Tightrope. Smoke Screen. The Ivy Maze. In a Plain Paper Wrapper. Tug of War. Man in a Chariot. 51 through 60. Ticket to Alaska. Moon Child. Dossier on a Diplomat. The Blessings of Liberty. Second Sight. Dark Corner. 10,000 Pieces of Silver. Stroke of Genius. An Apple a Day. The Walls of Night. 61 through 70. Passage to Helena. The Breaking of the Habit. Nobody Loses All the Time. Coral Lee. The Evil Men Do. All the Scared Rabbits. Taps for a Dead War. Man on a String. Flight from the Final Demon. The Good Guys and Bad Guys. 71 through 80. When the Bow Breaks. Echo of a Nightmare. Conspiracy of Silence. End of the Line. Rat in a Corner. Never Stop Running. The Sharp Edge of Chivalry. Right in the Middle of the Season. Bloodline. Everybody gets hit in the mouth sometimes. 81 through 90. 3 Cheers for Little Boy Blue. Devil's Carnival. Death is a Very Small Killer. Goodbye, My Love. A Taste of Tomorrow. The White Knight. Tiger Left, Tiger Right. Run the Man Down. The Other Side of the Coin. Masquerade. 91 through 100. With Strings Attached. The Garden House. The Devil's Disciples. Wine is a Traitor. The One That Got Away. Concrete Evidence. The Savage Street. The Old Man Picked a Lemon. There Goes the Ball Game. Scapegoat. 101 through 110. Middle of the Heat Wave. Where the Action Is. The Homecoming. Runner in the Dark. Shadow of the Swan. Set Fire to a Straw Man. Fun and Games and Party Favors. Approach with Care. The Chinese Sunset. The Shattered Silence. and 111 through 120, the worst of the worst. Crack in a crystal ball, not with a whimper. The cage, detour on a road going nowhere. When the wind blows, nicest fella you ever want to meet. Last second of a big dream. The Witch, Storm Center, and a clean and quiet town. That's the ranking of good to worst. Again, I'll mention that the classics: Never Wave Goodbye, Escape into Black, 2130, The End is But the Beginning, Nightmare at North Oak, Landscape with Running Figures, Search in a Windy City, and May God Have Mercy, Running Scared. Those are all the classics. I recommend watching all those first. How about Fugitive Friends? Richard Kimball had friends throughout the series. Obviously, his sister, Donna, Home is the Hunted, episode 15. Margaret Ruskin, episode 39, Escape into Black. Mike Decker, episode 19, Search in a Windy City. Wilma Springer, episode 11, Nightmare at North Oak. Gus Primus, episode 26, Somebody to Remember. Cassie, episode 3, The Other Side of the Mountain. Davy, episode 10, Fatso. Joe Smith, episode 6, Decision in the Ring. Sister Veronica, episodes 22, 23, Angels Travel on Lonely Roads. Sam Reed, episode 30, The Endgame. Dr. Town, episode 39, Escape into Black. Terry Waverly, episode 53, The Survivors. Anne Leonetti, episode 55, May God Have Mercy. Jack Glennon, episode 43, The Iron Maiden. Jimmy Anza, episode 114, The Savage Street. Mickey Deming, episode 61, Wings of an Angel. Barbara Webb, episode 77, Wife Killer. Howard Keevy, episode 97, Second Sight. Karak Family, episode 103, The Blessings of Liberty. Fritz Simmons, episode 111, The Ivy Maze. Ambassador Ioana, episode 116, Dossier on a Diplomat. And Charlie Paris, episode 78, This Will Kill You. How about Fugitive Villains, the enemies? Fred Johnson, The One-Armed Man, episode 120, On the Tower. Sheriff Joe Bob Sims, episode 48, Nicest Fella You Ever Want to Meet. Deputy Jimmy Steele, episode 91, The Last Oasis. Miles, episode 8, See Hollywood and Die. Dan Pike, episode 13, Terror at High Point. Bellows, episode 17, Come Watch Me Die. Ralph Simmons, episode 27, Never Stop Running. Jack Devlin, episode 30, The Endgame. Vinny, Episode 8, See Hollywood and Die. Herbie, Episode 21, Rat in a Corner. Harold Cheney, Episode 36, Tiger Left, Tiger Right. Morgan Fallon, Episode 37, Tug of War. Dan Brady, Episode 57, Runner in the Dark. Neil Pickerson, Episode 58, APB. Harry Kraft, Episode 60, Last Second of a Big Dream. Jane Washburn, Episode 79, Echo of a Nightmare. Jack Burmas, Episode 95, 10,000 Pieces of Silver. Hutch, Episode 102, The Devil's Disciples. Arch Johnson, Episode 2, The Witch. Arthur Brain, Episode 104, The Evil Mendu. Alan Bartlett, Episode 112, Goodbye, My Love. And John Morley, Episode 118, The Shattered Silence. Excuse me. Okay. How about fugitive love interests? I talked about that in part 1. Karen, Never Wave Goodbye, Episode 4. Amy, Episode 47, The End is But the Beginning. Monica, Episode 1, Fear in a Desert City. Susan, Episode 89, In a Plain Paper Wrapper. And Ellie, Episode 32, World's End. These are the 5 women that I recommend that Kimball end up with. In part 1, I listed about 20, how many was it? 26 women that had love affairs with Kimball in the series. But these 5, Karen, played by Susan Oliver, Amy, played by Barbara Berry, Monica, played by Vera Miles, Susan, played by Lois Nettleton, and Ellie, played by Suzanne Pleshette. Those are my recommendations. How about a list of actors that I enjoyed? Obviously, David Jensen, 120 episodes, in almost every scene. Barry Morris, Lieutenant Philip Gerard, 39 episodes, not bad. Telly Savalas, Episode 55, May God Have Mercy. Brian Keith, Episode 1, Fear in a Desert City. Melvin Douglas, Episode 87, The 2130. Pat Hingle, Episode 19, Search in a Windy City. Gilbert Rowland, Episode 26, Somebody to Remember. Kurt Russell, Episode 35, Nemesis. Ivan Dixon, Episode 39, Escape into Black. Robert Duvall, Episode 46, Brass Ring. Bruce Dern, Episode 51, Corner of Hell. Greg Morris, Episode 61, Wings of an Angel. Ed Nelson, Episode 14, Little Girl from Egypt. The Girl from Little Egypt. Jack Klugman, Episode 11, Terror at High Point. And Bill Raish, Episode 119 and 120, The Judgment, the One-Armed Man. There are a lot of other, let's see, a lot of other actors in the series that I enjoy. Let's see, I have a reference. Where do I have that book? You have William Shatner was in the series, Mickey Rooney, Leslie Nelson. Oh, I can go on and on. I had a list. I can't find it right now, but there were a lot of actors in the series that I enjoyed. How about fugitive actresses? Obviously, Susan Oliver, episode 4 and 5, Never Wave Goodbye. Jacqueline Scott, episode 15, Home is the Hunted, and she's Kimball's sister. Barbara Berry, episode 47, The End is But the Beginning. Betty Garrett, episode 39, Escape into Black. Vera Miles, episode 1, Fear in a Desert City. Angie Dickinson, episode 46, Brass Ring. Suzanne Plachette, episode 32, World's End. Beverly Garland, episode 7, Smokescreen. Nancy Wickwire, episode 11, Nightmare at North Oak. Barbara Rush, episode 69 and 70, A Landscape with Running Figures. Lois Nettleton, episode 89, In a Plain Paper Wrapper. Janice Rule, episode 117, The Walls of Night. Patricia Crowley, episode 2, The Witch. Diane Brewster, episode 14, The Girl from Little Egypt. She's Helen Kimball. Julia Summers, episode 72, Stranger in the Mirror. Louise Sorrell, episode 53, The Survivors. Sandy Dennis, episode 3, The Other Side of the Mountain. Hope Lang, episode 91, The Last Oasis. Nan Martin, episode 43, The Iron Maiden. Carol Lawrence, episode 115, Death is a Very Small Killer. And Carol Rawson, episode 55, May God Have Mercy. Many other actresses appeared in the series. I had a list, but if you want to know, look it up, the Fugitive series of all the other actresses. But these are the ones I enjoyed. How about fugitive scenes that are classic? Episode 5, Never Wave Goodbye. Richard and Karen share a final kiss and embrace on the rocks. Touching. Episode 39, Escape into Black. Margaret Ruskin and Kimball on the train. She tells him about the one-armed man. Kimball recalls his memory, and Lieutenant Gerard sees Kimball, and Kimball jumps off the train. Escape into Black, rated number 3 as best in the entire series. Episode 14, The Girl from Little Egypt. This is the flashback episode. Kimball's first face-to-face meeting with the one-armed man. He runs in the house, finds his wife's body, Helen in the hospital, and her reaction to the bad news. Her baby is dead. Episode 19, Search in a Windy City. Kimball sees the one-armed man on the bus. Mike Decker warns Kimball about Lieutenant Gerard. Episode 11, Nightmare at North Oak. Kimball has a nightmare of Lieutenant Gerard following him down a dark alley. Kimball and Lieutenant Gerard meet face to face and talk through the jail cell. Wilmer Springer slipping the key to Kimball. Episode 4, Never Wave Goodbye. Lieutenant Gerard sees Kimball at the LA County Jail, and a thrilling chase scene throughout the city. Episode 1, Fear in a Desert City. Kimball tells his story to Monica. He walks alone in the dark night as a fugitive. Episode 39, Escape into Black. Fred Johnson calls the police, and the scene reveals he has the one arm. Episode 120, The Judgment. Flashback scene where Johnson kills Helen with the lamp. The unforgettable fight scene between Kimball and Johnson on the tower. Lieutenant Gerard shoots and kills Fred Johnson, and Kimball's final smile as a free man. Episode 119, The Judgment. Lieutenant Gerard questions Fred Johnson in the police station about the murder of Helen Kimball. Where were you that night? September 19th, 1961. Episode 47, The End is But the Beginning. Amy gives theater tickets to Richard. Kimball finds the dog tags. Amy discovers Richard is alive in the motel room, and Amy protects Richard and takes a bullet for him. Episode 5, Never Wave Goodbye. Kimball sees Lieutenant Gerard drowning and saves his life. Episode 15, Home is the Hunted. John Kimball sees his son, Richard, and they embrace. Donna hugs Richard and is very emotional. Episode 30, The Endgame. Final scene where Lieutenant Gerard stands over the cliff and knows Kimball has escaped again. The music sets the tone. Episode 35, Nemesis. Kimball steals a truck but finds out Philip Gerard is hiding. Philip Gerard Jr. is hiding in the back seat. Episode 43, The Iron Maiden. Kimball is stuck in a landmine and finds out Lieutenant Gerard is waiting at the top. Episode 46, Brass Ring. Stormy love scene between Kimball and Norma on the beach. Episode 82, Running Scared. Donna meets Richard at the basketball arena. Lieutenant Gerard sees Kimball and another thrilling chase. Episode 53, The Survivor. Edith Waverly, the mother of Helen, sees Richard Kimball in her house. Episode 55, May God Have Mercy. Kimball is shot by police at the bus station. Lieutenant Gerard questions Kimball in the hospital bed. Episode 61, Wings of an Angel. Kimball saves the girl on the bus but is stabbed. He escapes the prison hospital. Episode 69, Landscape with Running Figures. A sick Kimball leaves his job in the rain, delusional. Kimball is almost caught by Lieutenant Gerard, but a little boy saves him. Bus crash leaves Marie Gerard blind and catches a ride with Richard Kimball. Episode 70, Landscape with Running Figures. Marie Gerard and Kimball talk about his marriage and Stafford, Indiana. Marie shouts at Kimball to turn himself in. Episode 77, Wife Killer. Kimball sees Fred Johnson in the police station. Thrilling car chase, and Johnson is injured. Kimball asks Johnson if he killed Helen Kimball. Episode 87, the 2130. Dr. Ryder realizes that Kimball may be innocent after the computer predicts his movements. Episode 91, The Last Oasis. Kimball tells Annie he must leave town over her objection. Episode 84, Ill Wind. Lieutenant Gerard captures Kimball in the dark night. Kimball saves Lieutenant Gerard from the pitchfork. Kimball escapes while Lieutenant Gerard shouts in vain. Episode 111, The Ivy Maze. Fred Johnson destroys the tape of his confession while under sleep therapy. Episode 120, The Judgment. Kimball searches for Johnson and sees him around the corner. Johnson shoots, gun is empty. The final chase begins. Classic fight scene on the tower. Episode 14, The Girl from Little Egypt. Richard and Helen having drinks. Richard sees boy fishing on the lake. Episode 119, The Judgment. Kimball walks out of his apartment and is captured by Lieutenant Gerard. Episode 120, The Judgment. Kimball walks down from the tower after Johnson is shot. Episode 120, The Judgment. Narrator says final words. the day the running stopped. These are classic, memorable scenes. So what should I say about this book? Let me just show you my book. I have it over here. Okay, here it is. The Fugitive Encyclopedia, What Could Have Been. Who's that on the cover? That's me on the train track as a fugitive. Notice the knapsack on my shoulder. Notice the disguise, the glasses, and the hat, and the jeans. I'm a fugitive. What have I learned about this series? Well, from the time that Richard Kimball in episode 1, Fear in a Desert City, he steps off the bus in Tucson, Arizona, and what happens? Consider the plight of this fugitive, the good, the bad, the ugly, trials, fistfights, gunshot wounds, concussions, beatings, jail cells, escapes, boats, runaway cars, truck driving, moving trains, planes, horses, hurricanes, inclement weather, cops, sheriffs, detectives, lawyers, relatives, love interests, siblings, hitmen, crooks, thieves, looters, robbers, embezzlers, thugs, mobsters, attack dogs, bloodhounds, tigers, bees, swans, fingerprints, wanted posters, kidnappers, murderers, liars, cheaters, swindlers, con men, psychos, hypocrites, connivers, deceivers, criminals, lawless, and dysfunctional wackos. This is what Kimball had to endure. But not as all bad. An innocent victim of blind justice, falsely convicted for the murder of his wife, reprieved by fate when a train wreck freed him en route to the death house, freed him to hide in lonely desperation, to change his identity, to toil at many jobs, freed him to search for a one-armed man he saw leave the scene of the crime, freed him to run before the relentless pursuit of the police lieutenant obsessed with his capture. Our heart cries out, how about all the people who helped him? Monica Wells, A Loving Kiss, Richard and Karen on the Rocks. How about the townfolk of North Oak slipping him the key to escape from the jail cell? How about a newspaper columnist, Mike Decker, willing to risk his life and career for his friend? How about Margaret Ruskin, tracking down the one-armed man, willing to risk her career and save Kimball on the train from capture from Lieutenant Gerard? How about Amy Rennick, willing to take a bullet for her supposed love interest, Richard? How about Donna Taft, the loving sister, stood by his side and was with him throughout the 4-year saga? And how about Lieutenant Philip Gerard, his nemesis, shooting and killing the one-armed man on the tower and saving Richard Kimball's life? Well, what have I learned about this series? If I was a fugitive, first thing I would do was change my appearance, dye my hair, grow a beard, and use names that are unrecognizable. Jeff Cooper, Sam, Mike, Bob, Dick, all the aliases I would use would not be noticeable by other people. I would have low key jobs such as farming, fishing, labor, truck driver. I would travel from town to town. Don't stay too long in one town. Avoid the big cities. Avoid being on a boat where you get stuck. Don't get on a plane. Avoid trains that are hijacked. I would keep in contact with my friends. I would hire a private investigator to seek out the truth. That would be my goal. So I've pretty much covered a lot of the Fugitive series. I ranked it number 2 as my favorite television series of all time. Number 1 was the drama 24 with Jack Bauer. I've seen all 120 episodes. I've written a 4-volume book, The Fugitive Views and Reviews. I was a little disappointed with the beginning of the series, not a genuine pilot. Check out part 1. You'll see what I mean. And then I was disappointed with the classic ending of the series. I would have developed a story more consistent with the thesis and the theory of the show. Kimball was falsely convicted, but you need evidence of who actually committed the crime. Now, in episode 119 and 120, the writers decided to use a witness who kept quiet for 4 years. But I would have developed it a little more plausible. I would have had the one-armed man and his ex-wife revealing what the truth is. She would be more believable. She can confess to the police that, yes, my husband, Fred Johnson, was in that house that night because I was there and I have the evidence, the lamp. The writers decided to use a witness, Lord Chandler, who was in the house that night and saw the crime. But how much could he be believed? But anyways, a thrilling drama. I recommend it. The Fugitive, 1963 through 1967. Classic television at its best. The characters were well cast. David Jansen as Richard Kimball, Barry Morris as Lieutenant Gerard, Jacqueline Scott as Donna Taff, Susan Oliver as Karen, Barbara Berry as Amy Rennick, Beverly Garrett as Margaret Ruskin, Pat Hingle, Mike Decker. I can go on and on. What could have been. Thanks for watching the video. I believe I've covered all the aspects and trials and tribulations of Richard Kimball in the classic TV series, The Fugitive. Okay. Ken Artizone, signing out. I'm out.